welcome back to my channel, Beautiful Minutia. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany and welcome to my August TBR. So I did what I normally do this year in terms of summer book bingo, where I just plug in buddy reads and things that I have going on, various readathons, whatever, into my summer book bingo. And then August typically ends up being the month where I'm like, oh, I still have these spaces to fill. So that's what some of this TBR is. And then the rest of it is buddy reads. Actually, some are buddy reads and they're for spaces. So hopefully I will black out my bingo board this year. If you're newer here and you haven't heard of summer book bingo, I'll link that video so you can check it out. But basically, there's a board, like a 5x5 bingo board, and anytime you get a bingo over the course of the summer with a book that you can plug in there, you get entered into a giveaway. And so there's a total available entries of 12, but any single bingo counts. So if you're new here and you're just finding this for the first time, you can count any of the books that you have already read this summer, and it goes through August 31st. So this is your reminder to, check and see if you want to get some bingos. Like, now's a good time to check and see how your summer reads are going and see if you've gotten any bingos or if you're getting close, and you can tag me on social media or post it in my Discord, which is linked down below, and you can be entered. I think that I have like 6 spaces left on my bingo board to fill, and I have more than 6 books here. I think I have like maybe 11 or 12. I don't know. We'll see once I get to the end. Maybe I'll count them. I have not technically counted them yet, but let's go ahead and start with some buddy reads. So the first book is The Faithful Spy. This is a middle grade kind of sort of like graphic novel, but not quite. There's a lot of artwork, a lot of graphic stuff, but some actual words and stuff as well. And it's about Dietrich Bonhoeffer. And I am reading this with Chantel from Chantel Reads All Day. She is doing a book club, and she's doing it for a few months to kind of see what she thinks. And she asked me to pair with her for August book club. So we will be reading The Faithful Spy, so you can join us and we will have live discussion towards the end of the month. We don't have a date and a time set just yet, but we will have one, and there will be a live discussion on Chantel's channel. So I hope you can join us for that. Next up for my Patreon this month, it is a month that we are choosing a book to read together, and I'm really excited because August is Claire's birthday month, and so she has really wanted to participate in some of my Patreon stuff, and so we decided that for her birthday month she would choose some books, and my Patreon got to vote. And so we typically read classics, and so she chose some children's classics, and they voted for which one they wanted to read, and she will read it with us and also be a part of the live discussion for that. So the book that ended up winning the poll was The Saturdays by Elizabeth Enright, which we have owned for a while and neither of us have read, but we read Thimble Summer by Elizabeth Enright a couple summers ago and absolutely loved it. So really looking forward to reading this one. This is the first in a quartet about a family with, I think, 4 children, and maybe each book centers on a specific child. I'm not really sure, but it's very sweet and funny, and so I'm really looking forward to reading that. If you're interested in reading with us, the link to join my Patreon is in the description of this video, and I'm really looking forward to reading this one. The last book club style book that I have on this list is an in-person book club that I do with some local homeschool moms, and we have been kind of choosing a genre each month and then picking a book from that genre to read together. So in August, we're going to be doing a fantasy, and we're going to be reading A Natural History of Dragons by Marie Brennan. And I'm really looking forward to this. This, from what I have heard, is like Jane Austen plus dragons, because it takes place in kind of a Regency time period. And the main character, Lady Trent, is someone who wants to study dragons, I think like a naturalist kind of a thing. And so I think that some of the themes and stuff examined are kind of like the opportunities that she has or does not have as a woman in the Regency time period. So I think that that is part of it. I know it's not as fantastical as some fantasies, it's not like all these magical abilities or anything like that. It definitely doesn't have that sort of a feel. I know that about it. But I think it's going to be really fun, and I'm really looking forward to this one. I've owned it for a while, and I'm so excited to finally have an excuse to read it. Okay, moving on to some other buddy reads. So I am reading Winter in Sokcho, which I didn't write down the author's name, but The image will be up here. I am reading this with my friends Christy, Una, and Stephanie, and I'm really looking forward to reading it with all three of them. This is a novel that has been translated from the Korean. From what I understand, it's probably pretty short. I really don't know anything about it, and that is what typically ends up happening when I read translated Korean things. I'm usually reading them with someone, or I've heard someone talk about them or something, and so sometimes I don't have really too much of an idea of what it's about. I have talked to Una and he's already started it and he's really enjoying it, so I'm really looking forward to reading it, especially since I get to read it with three really awesome people. And then with my friend Katie from Paperbacks and Ponytails, we're going to be reading Scaramouche by Raphael Sabatini. Haven't read any Sabatini. Don't know anything about this book either. We've been trying to figure out like a book we could read together, and we were supposed to potentially read this in July, and then my July just got really full, so Katie so graciously allowed me to boot this buddy read to August. So we'll be reading this, and I don't know anything about it because she was just kind of looking at some classics on her shelves to suggest something that we could read together, and she was like, how about this one? Have you read it? And I'm like, no. So thankfully Project Gutenberg had like a free PDF version because it's not as well known in terms of being able to find a whole bunch of digital copies of it. I'm hoping to be able to find maybe potentially an audiobook as well, but we'll see. I'm really looking forward to reading this with Katie though. Next up we have another classic, Cry, the Beloved Country by Alan Paton. I am reading this with my dear friend Dia from Novel Idea. I feel like I read something with her like pretty much every month. Last month we actually read 2 books together. So anyways, this book is actually my classics TBR for the year. If you've seen that video, you know that I talk about reading translated classics or classics that are from all over the world. Cry, the Beloved Country is actually from South Africa. And that's just about all that I know about it. I've heard a lot of people commented on that video and said that they really liked it, and it's very like hard-hitting and sad and important, but beautiful and good at the same time. So we'll kind of see. I think that it does center around like the apartheid kind of stuff in South Africa, and that's pretty much all that I know about it. And I don't think there's really, there's no information on the back. This is a super, super old copy that I picked up at a thrift store, and it was actually published in 1948, this edition. So we'll see what we end up thinking of this. I'm really looking forward to giving it a try. So in addition to having a classic heavy month, I'm also having a fantasy heavy month because I am continuing Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson. There's still a couple days left in July when I am filming this, but I'm not very far into it, and I don't anticipate being super far into it by the time that August starts. And it's not like I'm gonna finish this in 2 days. This book is 1,200 pages long. This is the 3rd book in the Stormlight Archive. I'm reading it with my friend Whitney Drew, and we have been working through this together. We kind of took a little bit of a break to read Warbreaker and Edge Dancer because they like fit in with the Stormlight Archive in between the books, but we're really, really excited to get back into Oathbringer. So I think this is going to be fabulous because I have loved the other 2 Stormlight Archive books so far. And then one of the prompts on my bingo board was a standalone science fiction or fantasy book. So I have a book that my friend Dia sent to me, and that is The Goblin Emperor by Catherine Addison. She actually sent this to me when we did the booktube, Introduce Your Booktube Buddy Tag, I think is what it was called, and that was super fun. So this also made it onto my 5-star predictions for the 3rd quarter because Dia always knocks it out of the park with her suggestions. It's very rare that she has suggested a book that I haven't loved, but actually she never has. Every book that she's ever recommended to me, I've really enjoyed, and they have been at least 4 stars. So I'm predicting that this is going to be 5 stars. I know that this definitely has some political elements to it and is a little bit more of a slower fantasy, which are definitely like buzzwords for me in terms of fantasy. And I'm reading this with Stephanie from Miss Richards Reads because she commented on that video and said, that sounds so good. And I'm like, you want to read it with me? So we're going to be reading this one together, which will make it even more fun. So those are all the buddy reads that I have, but I still have a couple other books that I have sitting over here, some of which will actually, I think every single one of which goes for my summer book bingo board, but some of them are for my Reader Rid project, and so they're doing double duty here. This one is not for my read read project, and it's possible that I'll finish this by the end of July, but I really doubt it. But it is a shorter book, and that is The Forest of Stolen Girls by June Her. I'm going to use this for my mystery space, and also, you know, I kind of was inspired to pick it up because of K-Tropathon, which is an event that I co-hosted with my friend Christy and Yoon from Dr. Yoon during the month of July, which was super fun. So that's why I picked this up, because this is a historical mystery set in Korea in 1426. And I read The Red Palace by June Her last summer and thought it was a lot of fun, and actually read it for the mystery space on my bingo board last year. So we're doing June Her 2 years in a row for those mystery spaces, but I am really interested in this one. The premise, I think, is that there's this young girl and her father is an investigator, and when she and her sister were children, they went missing and they were discovered really close to a crime scene, but she has no memory of what happened. And then her father went to investigate because there was an area where a whole bunch of girls went missing, and he went to investigate, and now he has gone missing. And so she's going to try to figure out what happened, is what I think is going on based on the inside flap of this. But I'm really interested in this one, and I really hope I love it. So the rest of the books that I have on this list are from my Read or Rid project, which, if you're unfamiliar with that, I picked a selection of books that I need to read by the end of this year, or I need to just get rid of them because they've been on my shelves for too long. So I'll link that video in case you haven't seen it, so you can see the full TBR and hear a little bit more about it. But basically, these last 3 books also fill in spaces on my bingo board, one of which I was supposed to read in July and I did not, and that is I Am the Messenger by Marcus Zusak. I'm going to be using this for my second chance author space. I have read Book Thief by him when my daughter was tiny, like a baby, and I remember really liking it, but I haven't read it in recent years, so I don't really know. But in recent years, I did try to read Bridge of Clay by him, and I hated it and I DNF'd it. So this is counting for a second chance author because I don't really have very high hopes on it. So the way that I picked these books from my Read or Rid project is that I used the Buzzwordathon and the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge by Chantel Reads All Day. And for the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge, they kind of go off of each other's prompts. Like the previous month will kind of help the future month. So basically, I Am the Messenger was supposed to be a different country, a book set in a different country than the book the month before, and I Am the Messenger was set in Australia, so I chose that one for that. But for August, I just need to choose something that is the same genre, and I don't know if this is technically the same genre, but I Am the Messenger is YA. I don't know if it's magical at all, but I am going to be reading Lore by Alexandra Bracken, and this is also a YA, and it's got Greek mythology. I don't know if it's a full retelling or if it just has Greek mythology elements to it, but this will count for the mythology space on my bingo board as well. And then the prompt for the Buzzwordathon was body part in the title, and so I'm going to be reading The Arm of the Starfish by Madeline L'Engle, and I am not really sure about this one. I've heard mixed things about this one. A lot of people have not read this one because if they've read Madeline L'Engle, they think of A Wrinkle in Time, and I think that this is kind of an offshoot of like another series that follows the Wrinkle in Time quintet. I think Wrinkle in Time has 5 books in it. But anyways, this I think follows some of the same families, but I'm also going to use it for the seaside island setting for my bingo board because I was going to try to do Moby Dick for that one, and Moby Dick is just not happening this summer. It's just not. I just don't have time to devote to it, unfortunately. So then I tried to read last month Deep as the Sky, Red as the Sea, and ended up DNFing it. So I'm like, I need to find another book that will work in this space. And this is on my Read or Rid project anyway, and was slated for August anyway. So I think that this will work. Hopefully I can make it through it. I mean, it's not very long. It's a little over 200 pages, but I'm hoping that I can read this because I've tried to fill that spot so far with 2 books and neither of them have worked out just yet. Okay, so I counted my list. There are 13 books on there. So definitely more than what I am reading for hopefully blacking out my summer book bingo. We'll see. Last year I was only 1 space away and I didn't quite make it. And then the year before I did black out my bingo board. So it's not like I get a prize for blacking out my bingo board or anything, but you know, there's just something so satisfying about completely blacking out a board of a challenge that you're participating in. So I hope that I'm able to, but I'm making good progress on it either way. So I will have a wrap up for July coming up probably next week, so you can see the progress that I've made on my board there. But those are the books that I'm planning to read for this upcoming month. I would love to hear from you in the comments down below. What are you planning on reading next month? Are you participating in any readathons or anything? And please tell me if there is a book on your TBR for the month of August that you were like really excited to read. Please tell me. I would love to hear what is like top of your priorities you're most excited about. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like and also subscribe so you can continue to see more bookish content from me, and I will see you again next time.